Welcome to playoff time, ladies and gentlemen, at the Esport Company for the High School League. It's about that time, but let's take a look at Week 6, Overwatch Division 1. We had Greater Johnstown taking on Berlin Brothers Valley, Somerset versus Bishop Carroll, and Moshannon Valley versus Forest Hills. It is about that time for the top 5 plays. Let's take a look at number 5. It's going to be CBG Hotshot of Forest Hills, setting themselves up for a Riptire around the corner. Bang! Taking out 3 players of Moshannon Valley for that top 5 play, that number 5 play. Moving on to number 4, it's Flip Stingray, normally on DPS, but here he is on support. Still acting like a DPS. He behind enemy lines, getting a triple kill there for that number 4 play. Speaking of behind enemy lines, it's number 3, Carroll 2 of Bishop Carroll with a pulse bomb that weakens the enemy, and he just finishes off the rest of them for that number 3 play. Moving on to number 2, it's going to be MV Esports 4 of Moshannon Valley with a ult just to try to get them out of spawn, and it is very successful, taking out 3 members and healing his team at the exact same time. Love that support play of the game, but our number 1 play is going to be Bishop Carroll's Carroll 6 with a well-timed charge and shatter, swiping left and right. Bang, 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 everyone's dead. And Bishop Carroll wins 2-0 over Somerset. Forest Hills 2-0 over Moshannon Valley. And they are still undefeated on top with Bishop Carroll close behind, 5-1. Nizzy's out.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Esports Company High School Spring 2022 Overwatch Division 1 quarterfinal playoffs. Wow, that was a mouthful. I'm Tiny Shiny, here with the Lord Ethan, here to bring you some Overwatch today.
Yeah, and I say it every week. I'll say it once more, Tiny. This is the highlight of my week, to watch all of these high school teams compete in this really, upper level Overwatch competition. These are the quarterfinals, so a little bit different format today. These series are going to be best of 5. We're bringing you 2 games today. The first of which is going to be the Somerset area Golden Eagles versus the Greater Johnstown Trojans. Tiny, this should be a very exciting matchup for today.
Indeed it will. These are the 4 and 5 seeds respectively going against each other. They did rank pretty evenly when going into this playoff match, so we'll be looking forward to see how they perform today. This is my first time here, so I can't wait to see what it brings is in store for these teams.
Well, being the quarterfinals, you know, it's a long past time for all of these individual players to really step up to this plate. For now, you mentioned that this is kind of an even matchup, and you're absolutely right about that. This is definitely going to be a close series. At least I'm hoping, crossing my fingers for this. This is going to be a great debut for you, Tiny, because I'm sure all of these players are bringing their A game. Representing the Somerset area Golden Eagles. Looking at their roster here, you've got MJ Plays and Savo Prowler on the tank lineup, Arsenu Wu and Yi Yibo on the DPS role. They're going to be bringing all the damage, securing all those kills. Thick Swiss and Kitten Spy will be backing up the team with helpful utilities as the support heroes. They're going up against the Greater Johnstown Trojans, though, and Tiny, there's quite a bit of talent on that roster.
Oh, for sure. We're starting out with our tank line. We got Juna TV, and I believe it's I'm Just Thick. That's very nice names running out that tank line. Moving on to the DPS, we got Trix Death and Trojan 1, and finally keeping everyone alive and healthy. It's going to be Heaven and River Galaxy on that support line. And like you said, a lot of these teams, it's very evenly matched. There isn't really one role in particular where we think that there's going to be an outplay or something like that. Like, it's going to be an all-out brawl to the end, and we might even be expecting to go all 5 maps here.
Like I mentioned earlier, Tiny, I'm crossing my fingers to see more than 3 maps played. Like I mentioned earlier, it is a best of 5, first to 3. So for these teams, you know what that means is a longer series, a greater test of endurance, if you will, and as well, you're really going to get to see those moments of team synergy shine through on a couple of these maps as well. It's the map order here is going to be control, and then to the assault game mode, which we haven't seen before here on the esports company high school Overwatch Division 1. I'm very excited to see the assault game mode played, 2CP as it's belovedly referred to by the community. Starting out, however, we'll end up on that control point game mode. We're heading to the Gardens of Oasis right off the bat.
We're going to be starting out on that Gardens map, and like just looking at how this composition could be set up, we don't entirely know for sure until the gates open, but from what we have expected previously from these teams, we could be looking forward to some sort of Reinhardt Brawl composition.
Oh yeah, and you know that's definitely what these teams, what these high school teams are kind of oriented around. There's a structure that comes with having the quintessential square man in that lineup, and you know these teams they like the structure. But as well, you know there are moments for individuals to shine on those comfort picks. For Somerset area, those comfort picks include that Mercy Moira healing composition. Not something that you might see in your solo queue ranked play games, but let me tell you, these supports for the Golden Eagles, they are more than competent enough. Starting off here for Somerset, you've also got Arsenu Wu on the Symmetra. They're going to be able to teleport the team out very quickly. You'll see this first brawl really break out here in just a few moments. Greater Johnstown has more than enough shields, though, to mitigate all the damage that the Golden Eagles can do.
I think they do, and it's already, we're seeing Somerset getting set up on this point. With that Symmetra, they're gonna have a bit of an advantage with these turrets, preventing Greater Johnstown from really moving past this initial choke, but the Reinhardt gets separated from their team, opening the door wide open for Greater Johnstown to get in and find the kills necessary to likely capture this point.
Oh yeah, and you know it doesn't matter if you're the first or the last team to touch that objective there. You get that early control if you're the Greater Johnstown Trojans, and hey, you know if you're last to touch, if you win the fight, that is all you need. Arsenu Wu is going to be on the Sombra now instead of the Symmetra, so hoping to disable some of these barriers that Greater Johnstown has to work with. Already pelting a little bit of damage there in the backlines and looking for those early hacks.
I do find it interesting here that we do have Trojan up on that Pharah right now with that Baptiste Ana. So that's a lot of healing to go towards the team, but Trojan's got to be careful with how they're playing right now, not to get too close to the enemy team. Look at that, already forcing the translocator out. These rockets have been on point so far, just preventing that Ana from being in sightlines of their team. And now this is where the damage is going to come in. That's the Earth Shatter.
Oh, all right, Sava.
On the ground, that is what we're talking about. Prowler laying that down.
Isn't enough to win it though here. Ooh, MJ Plays ends up going down. Arsenu Wu is able to trade in the process, but there's now a Nano Ryan on the objective.
Oh, that's a sad sleeping hacks. Reinhardt just chilling. but not much you can do right now. The point is still in the control of Greater Johnstown. They're yet to get every player off, and it is going to be on their job to keep the point going as much as they possibly can, with that percentage being so valuable in the long term.
Ultimately, the point will flip here. Poor I'm Just Mythic hacked several consecutive times. Just let Mythic play the game. They're sitting on this Earth Shatter, though. This might be the opportunity for Greater Johnstown to swing this fight, swing this point back into their control.
And that's likely what they're going to want to do, but have to keep an eye on Arson here. Able to build up that EMP as well, and already this Junkrat spam into this room has been brutal. The amount of damage that is even taken before you walk out into the point is terrible down there. Oh, there's the Earth Shatter, huge block. Well, not going to be the point of turning around, and it's just going to be Greater Johnstown. Going to have to take another swing at this.
Yeah, you know, for the Trojans, Cooper there, Trojan 1 was able to trade the Barrage for an elimination, but ultimately it's an insignificant pick there with Thick Swiss, the ever-attentive Mercy player, able to equalize Amanda's advantage and delay the impending attack here for the Greater Johnstown Trojans. Not for too long, though. Look at this, they're ready to move.
Yeah, that's already a Riptide Flux followed up by the Riptide to open it up. The hack coming in just a half second too late. Damage has already been done, however, is now it is Greater Johnstown with the upper hand in the background. Now we're seeing the self-destruct thrown to the background.
Oh, all right.
That's a triple kill. Immortality field out, but didn't even matter as the 3 kills will be swung other way. This is still an even fight. These teams rolling it out. Hack under the far should secure a kill, but a huge bio nade is going to keep Trojan up and alive for the immediate moment. But with the Johnstown having the advantage with the tanks on the field, they have to close out this fight soon as we are nearing 70% on the point.
Yeah, I'm Just Mythic looking like a DPS hero coming in with all this damage, sitting on that Earth Shatter as well. Really, you're going to have to use it soon here to flip this objective.
And you're going to have to, but the Sombra is making his life miserable on this main tank. And no shield. Well, just this hammer, that's a huge immortality field. Give credit to Heavenly for that one. Now we're seeing the Riptide following it on its lovely journey to find the point, eventually finding the kills. There it is, the 2 immortality field no longer at the disposal of the team, but overtime has started for Somerset. We want to keep this going as long as they can, but right now with only Arson remaining, this might be the point where you just want to back out and reset unless you can get more players back.
Yeah, you know, you've gotten it to 99%. Trick's death here on the Junkrat, coming up with those 2 final blows as the team fight concludes there. This is still a tenuous stabilization here for Greater Johnstown. They're sitting on a handful of ultimates while Somerset Golden Eagles, they've really only got the EMP to come up soon, and they're definitely going to need it because they will be coming up on last team fight territory. Still a little bit of time. You might be able to afford to lose kind of half of a fight here if you engage pretty quickly. Kitten Spy on the Brig is interesting here. That's a lot of sustain here, but we've seen so far that the longer a fight lasts, the better off Greater Johnstown ends up looking. We'll see if that's the case here.
And there we go. There's a hack on the far out to open it up. Not able to confirm the kill just yet, however. Trick's death still has yet another Riptide in the bank, and once again, we'll be getting that initial pickoff.
Good revive.
Yeah, that's the thing. You got that revive. That's the advantage of having that Mercy. One of the biggest advantages you can give. There's the EMP followed up with this, actually countered, excuse me, by the Earth Shatter. And yet it is now overtime once again, but in favor of Greater Johnstown. The EMP bomb. What in the world is that? That is what we're talking about. MJ Plays wants to keep this one alive as long as they can. There we go. Another hack onto the Far player. DMAC will make this a little bit more challenging, but it is possible that Far is sitting so low, just flying up in the backline trying to find the option. Uh-oh, here comes the Riptide. Oh, not able to get him.
But they didn't touch.
Oh, you know what? That is what we call a zoning ultimate right there. Riptide might not have gotten the kill, but it got the Sombra off the point and away from touching, giving Greater Johnstown that upper hand.
That's value, TM, right there is, you know, even if you don't secure the elimination, you capture a little bit of space, and that's a great awareness from Trick's death to proc out that translocator. And, you know, that's the thing about the DPS role, as well as some supports as well. You know, I think about Baptiste and Zenyatta. You know, you often look at the tanks, the tank players, to create the space that the rest of the team can really operate in. And the fact is that if you're holding a lethal angle with Bap or Zen or any of the DPS heroes, you're creating space of your own. And I think that that's an advantage here that Greater Johnstown really has to work with. That being said, Somerset, with their impeccable use of these ultimate combos, they're all set to retake a little bit of a lead in this series and get this control point map to a round 3.
And those combos have been on point, but look at this. They're already trapped. Greater Johnstown in this tiny little room. Not an ideal location to be, especially with this Pharah and a Junkrat just playing in this tiny space. There is basically no way to avoid that damage. And now you're gonna have to see Somerset take a soft reset of their own, or maybe not, just completely back to spawn with the last couple kills coming in.
Yeah, ultimately, Greater Johnstown is able to utilize that little hallway and control of that little mini health pack to just invariably win the resource game. You look at the health of Junie TV here, and they've got quite a bit of HP from those from that kinetic grass shield, and that's a nice early pick on a Yibo. Talk about winning the resource game. You've already gotten the revive out of your opponent here. For Greater Johnstown, this is a good look.
Oh, it's huge. We're already seeing this. Like, look at this Yibo. Again, not going to be able to do too much. That Pharah able to spot them out. It's the first time they've been struggling against this DPS lineup, and if you're already down so much damage, you're going to struggle to even push through without much to work with in terms of resources, and it's just going to be another hold from Greater Johnstown with even more resources to deal with now.
Oh yeah, and you look at these fights resolving so favorably here for Greater Johnstown, and you think to yourself, okay, well, Somerset can afford to lose a few of these early fights. They're working with a couple of ultimates coming up online, but then you take a look at the economy that Greater Johnstown has to work with, and it's looking more and more dreary here for the Golden Eagles.
Yeah, again and again, you have to notice there's the Baptiste on a combo is making it so difficult for Arson to find really an initial pickoff on the support. The disruption is going to be key, and that's a great immortality field. Saved 3 of their team members. Again, talking about the support utility. That's exactly what you want to see. Now there's the Earth Shatter laid down on the ground once again. I'm just mythic. Coming up big and 70% on the time, and nothing really to show from it for Somerset at the moment.
Oh man, Greater Johnstown to win that as well. They used the Nano Boost, the Earth Shatter, and the Immortality Field, and that is all that were expended. You'll have that lamp coming up back for Heavenly XP here in just a few moments, but at least for Somerset, they can take this last fight with some of those devastating ultimate combos, see if they can pull this off.
You got all the combos available, but you don't even need
go.
Now, if you're able to land an Earth Shadow like that, you don't even need anything but the pin straight into the back. It's going to be a death sentence. With this Resurrection get off, that's going to be a big difference. Oh, it will, but not in the favor that you're looking for. Now, there's the EMP finally in, but will it be enough with most of the team already down? Now, here comes the Riptire Tricks Death. Wants to make this done and over fast, and that is going to be it. No one left to touch the point. I take that back. We forgot there's a Sombra chilling in the back line. Able to keep this time going over for a little bit longer, and just like that, Greater Johnstown will be taking map number 1.
Yeah, and albeit that that second map, University, it definitely looked a little bit more decisive than that first round in the Gardens. Ultimately, in a best of 5 series, it's a little bit different from that first to 2, best of 3. It's no longer too vital for you to absolutely win that first control point map, and control point ends up being so kind of death-matchy in style that this does not establish a bad look for the Golden Eagles. With these ultimate combos, the knowledge of what their win conditions really are there, we see Arson Uwu with 30 enemies hacked and 8 offensive assists. That's some serious elevation of the team that Arson Uwu can provide. So, with all of that knowledge, with all of these plays that the Golden Eagles are looking to make, I anticipate them to succeed in some of our consecutive map types.
For sure. Golden Eagles, this was, you can call it a warm-up, I guess, if you will. Now both teams have an idea of what maybe the other team's comfort picks are, how this might go. We saw Arson a lot on that Sombra. 30 hacks, that is quite a lot of hacks for a Sombra on such a short period of time. But now you want to think, okay, if we're able to get this many hacks off, what is a better way we might be able to capitalize it? And if you're the Trojans, you might think, okay, we know that the Sombra's here. What do we need to do to prevent that from getting more value? But of course, these things could be insignificant as we will move on to our next map. For the very first time, we'll be seeing an assault payload map in this League of Hanamura.
I'm so excited. As opposed to the rest of the player base, I unironically love the 2CP game mode. It's so incredibly challenging in the solo queue competitive environment when you're playing with a bunch of random people. But you take a game mode like this to the organized team play that TEC High School Division 1 really fosters. And this is a great chance for not only the individual pop-off moments that we got to see there on the control point point game mode, but also those ultimate combos, the team synergy. You know, how well are these 6 individuals coordinating with each other to achieve success in the 2 objectives that they have to capture? This is not only a historic moment here for the TEC High School League this season, but also for me as well. These teams are making their debut for me here on the assault game mode. I'm so ready to see these squads in action.
You know what? It's the first time for everything and everyone here. I'm guessing these teams might not nearly have as much practice on assault maps as they would compared to something like Control, which would be in that best of 3 scenario. However, this will be definitely a change of pace. However, we actually aren't seeing too many swaps in terms of compositions at the immediate moment. Whether that will remain the same until these doors open will be a mystery for now, but let's talk about how is this defense going to be set up here? What are the main goals for the defense team right now? How do they want to play with this composition they have up?
I mean, it's that double shield, double main support strategy. It's not necessarily the meta game favorite, right? But you know, it does help the Greater Johnstown Trojans really win out in that resource game. For the defense here, it's really just about wearing those resources down, securing some of those early picks with Arsenuwu now on this Hanzo. That's plenty viable, and just making sure that you aren't playing a man disadvantage when, you know, both of the barriers are still up.
Exactly. You got a lot to work around here with these double barriers, but you have to be mindful of all the damage that can just be shoved through this tiny little choke. Look at this Trojan putting the damage so low to the ground. Okay, maybe we can do that. Whew, a mini heart attack right there. And you know what? It freaked me out. That hey, here we are. They're still up 5v5, and there you go. There's the first kill on the point. Look at them, just Mythic already moving all the way back to the point. This poor Hanzo didn't know what to expect, and now they're even Reinhardt from the backline. Flanking Reinhardt alert. Just straight up into the team, caught off guard, and look at that, 13 HP and a dream. Able to make it work out though, as they are still up on the point. It is looking good right now for the capture to be in place. This Pharah, however, remains uncontested in the sky without the Soldier 76 there.
Yeah, and that's going to reward the Greater Johnstown Trojans with this first point capture. You know, it's a little bit less harrowing of an attack than that second objective, which is so favorable for the defenders. A really great principle of map design there from the devs. I gotta say, just Mythic there, just waltzing into the back lines of Somerset, hanging out there. You know, you mentioned 13 HP in a dream. They also had a 1600 health point barrier that they could have put up to keep themselves from dying, but they did not care. They just wanted the damage out, and now they've got an Earth Shatter to work with for the second point.
Well, you know what? It paid off in the end. Doesn't matter. We're here on second point now. Ready to move up here. This is an interesting approach. They're going to completely disregard the people that are playing on that high ground, forcing the draw back as Yibo going to be going back into the spawn. That's a huge opening for Trojan. Does have this barrage at the back. Look at that Dragon Strike straight up from the back line. We're not expecting this. Now we have a Hanzo on the flank. This is quite an interesting match so far. And with the Ana down, I don't know if no resurrection available. Actually, no mercy for Greater Johnston. You're playing with one support up on the high ground. Granted, it is a Baptiste, but will it be enough to make sure that you can stay in this fight until your Anas are able to rejoin?
Well, you know, they've got the Amplification Matrix Baptiste ultimate here, which can compensate for that man disadvantage, but we have to see any of the 6 ultimates from Greater Johnstown used here.
I know we're waiting so long, and then just all of a sudden we get these kills just appearing on the top right of our screens. We are even once again. There's the Earth Shatter. That's what we're talking about. Prowler, excuse me, making it work. Again, these Reinhardts have been on top of it. But now we're seeing the full commit into the fight. That is where we are going to see the chaos occur. There's the self-destruct thrown in the back. Able to get Trojan out, who is still yet to use these ultimates. Greater Johnston still has 5 in the bank and are in control and have so many players on this point. Now we're finally starting to see it. Trier finding the value that is needed. But again, the spawn advantages are coming in key for Somerset right now.
Yeah, there's your defender's advantage. This is why, this is part of the reason why 2CP is not preferred by Overwatch players. It's just because, you know, defenders, it's too easy for them to hold strong and stabilize. Needless to say, that was still a pretty good attack phase from Greater Johnstown. They lured out some pretty significant ultimates from Somerset area. Needless to say, they're still walking into this next fight with an ultimate advantage. I'm so eager to see who Just Mythic is able to down with this Earth Shatter. And as well, you know, I was clamoring earlier, I definitely want to see the Amplification Matrix from Heavenly XP in action here. River Galaxy coming up close on that Nano Boost as well. Greater Johnstown, they have all the tools that they need to win this second objective with a healthy time bank.
Yeah, you need the tools. That's a huge sleep. Able to get the kill. And to talk about Arson again, once again going on this flank. How's that Dragon Strike? If he's able to get that off in the back line, it could be unexpected. Now we're seeing it in the back. Uh-oh. Do they know it is there? Oh, they do not. They lose their Sigma early on, who had that Gravitic Flux in the bank. And Trojan, once again, just teasing up in the sky with that barrage, excuse me. Hey, you know what? We're talking about that Amplification Matrix. There it is.
There it goes.
Barely able to hit the... Yeah, just poor Farah, able to get healed at the moment. The Baptiste, and now we're seeing the barrage out, but there's just so much going on right now. Is that you don't see that too much anymore, but then you forget 200 damage now on the buff. Just the hammer laid down. I mean, it makes sense logically.
Yeah.
But once again, Greater Johnstown are going to probably remain in control with the spawn advantages they have. It's a huge sleep, but Johnstown still want to fight this out.
Yeah, and, you know, as opposed to the control point game mode, where the longer the fight endured, the more at an advantage Greater Johnstown looked. Now, they're honestly struggling just a little bit, and I think part of it is just the hesitation to use these ults. So look at MJ plays. They're not worried about eating out the self-destruct there. They just want to expend that ability so they can work on the next one. But look, things might start to turn here for Greater Johnstown.
Hey, you know what? That was a great self-destruct. I love that positioning. And there's the Nano Boost too. I think it's the second one that we've seen on a Mythic just in this fight alone. This has been dragging on for such a long time as just hope keeps flying in. And now a tick so close within the reach of Greater Johnstown that could ensure them moving on, at least moving on to another round after this, or, I mean, no draw. However, it's still going on. These spawns are just crazy. And now, once again, you're in the situation where you're down to support and Prowler. Oh, this guy has been on top of it, just swinging.
The Flux at long last!
Flux! We've been waiting for it. Will this be it? That is this is the power of the Gravitic Flux. This is why we want to see it out on the field. We know the power that it has with all the damage that it can deal. There's the Pulse Bomb, too. Arson managed to swap over to the Tracer within all of this chaos occurring on the point. I don't even know what's happening right now.
It's just a back and forth. This is the team deathmatch that I didn't think I would see on 2CP, that I didn't think I needed in my life, but I'm getting it. You've still got this Shatter to work with Just Mythic. Watch out for the Tactical Visor, though.
Yibo has this one up and running in the back, but Trick's death with those concussion mines. Finally, we get the team kill, the death bell that we have been waiting for the past 2.5 minutes. That fight has been going on.
You know, honestly, Tiny, after watching that, I'm exhausted. I'm just going to leave the rest of the broadcast to you. You have fun. It's been a pleasure, guys, casting for TEC this week, and I'm just going to dip out. No, I'm kidding. I'm here to stay towards the to the very end of this series and the next one, and hopefully you guys watching at home are as well. This is an interesting matchup for sure. You and I alluded to this at the very beginning, Tiny, that this was going to be pretty close, and these teams outside of that Oasis University, they've kept it pretty close. For Somerset, you know, I mentioned winning out that resource game. That's part of the win condition for them, outplaying the double shields. And I mean, Arsenuwu and the Hanzo navigating that flanking angle. It was absolutely a brilliant idea, as well as, you know, you've got these stall heroes, the Tracer. MJ plays with a timely self-destruct. They're able to just prolong these fights and put Greater Johnstown into a position where those resources end up being strained. You've got so much to work with here with this double shield, double main support hero composition, and ultimately for Somerset to be coming up on top of some of these fights, it's absolutely marvelous. Even despite all of the chaos, I'm still here for it.
Definitely, it's what makes it interesting. After all, you have this going on. Yes, it may be exhausting, but it's the action that we were expected to see in this playoff match today. And now Somerset, I'm liking this approach. We have a Symmetra on the field. Now,
let's go.
to be mindful of. There's also a Junkrat and a Pharah you might be teleporting into. If this teleporter can get up, I think it can be successful. But if it gets spammed down, you could be in a lot of trouble.
Looks like they were able to place it up successfully. You've got Somerset taking agency on the point.
Yeah, they're able to get on there, surprisingly enough. Immortality Field has been expended, and they just give room for the tanks to get the space that they needed to clear out the point. And unfortunately, it looks like that the Symmetra strat isn't going to be working this time around.
No, and as well, you know, some crucial picks here that Somerset was able to secure. Trojan 1, Cooper, and Heavenly XP, they're going to be sent back to spawn. The fight was won from Greater Johnstown, but, you know, you've got those two players saying, off the back of my sacrifice, we find victory. And victory was definitely attained for that first fight, but look at Arsene Uwu with their level of engagement in this first fight. They're already coming up on that photon barrier. Very helpful for buying space in this choke that they're about to navigate.
That'd be huge, and already the on and down, Ripper Galaxy. That's a huge pick to start it off. And this photon barrier, interesting placement, but it is going to prevent Greater Johnstown from moving up any farther. They will be pushing back to the point, as that was where the fight will be going on, and these turrets doing all the work just for Somerset, as now we have more of a point presence on their side. Greater Johnstown wants to just get stall as much time as they can right now, and do whatever they can, but at this point, it is going to be the point flipping over.
Yeah, Golden Eagles are going to walk away with this first point capture. They're coming up close on both tank ultimates. MJ Plays is leading the team in terms of that generation, but Hidden Spy as well with the Valkyrie. You know, if Somerset loses someone here as the mid-fight breaks out, they'll be able to pop that Valkyrie, use the mobility to get away with a revive without getting taken out or stunned out of that ability. Interestingly enough, Cooper has foregone the aerial supremacy here of the Pharah, and instead, just for heavy frontline damage, as Reaper, but Trick's Death, you know, they've got the tire, so there's your fire. There's all the damage you need.
You got the damage available. I wouldn't be too worried about that in general. But this is interesting. We're seeing a bit of a split approach. Is that a teleporter self-destruct?
Yeah, the TP self-destruct.
Oh my goodness gracious! That I have not seen that one in competitive play in a while. But you know what? It worked out. And just like that, it is going to be Somerset on top here, wanting to capture this point much faster than their opponents did. And at this rate, there could be a contest from Greater Johnstown, but Earthshatter will be preventing it. At least from that end, MJ Plays cleaning up those last couple kills from in spawn. And Riptire and a Miracle looking for it. Nope, not at all.
Yibo. Let's go. That was a great concussion mine onto that Riptire from Trick's Death. Yibo just shutting down that ultimate. In solo queue competitive play, you know, someone would type in match chat, you know, junk diff or something like that. But you know, right now it's operating more like you know, kind of the team differential. Definitely Somerset. They've you know, begun adapting to these prolonged fights, to the amount of resources that Greater Johnstown has to work with, whether it's in the form of the damage that Trick's Death and Cooper are able to put out, or the barriers, or the immense amount of area of effect healing. Somerset played that attack really well. As you know, their defense, they were able to stall out that time bank. I think the Trojans had like 4 minutes heading into that second objective, and now they are the ones at a disadvantage. They'll be attacking first here since they've only got a minute, but things are looking pretty tough for them right now.
And with the speed that Somerset was able to capture that first objective with, they were able to properly snowball their ultimates. Part of the huge reason that so much of the Overwatch player base not a biggest fan of 2CP maps, and that kind of just proves why right there. And you know, Greater Johnstown might have honestly learned something from that attack, as we are now seeing them on the Symmetra of their own.
Well, you know, they've only got a minute to work with, so anything that they can do to minimize the amount of time that they spend in a defensible position, you know, they're going to want to opt for that. So I gotta say, Trick's Death here on the Symmetra, I think they'll be able to make it work. Early teleporter already going up, but just Mythic is left behind.
Oh no, that's not great. You want your main tank to be able to get through that portal. The fight is going to be occurring on this far right side of the map, right over the cliff. Get a nice view of Hanamura and Japan, just right out there. And Somerset is able to find an advantage here. MJ Plays stuck in a trap, just prone to taking a beating from these Junkrat bombs. And now you're in a position that you probably didn't expect to be in if you're Greater Johnstown. You're pretty confident going into this. All right, you got a minute left, but now you're at a bit of an disadvantage. Arson, again, on this Symmetra, wants to make this work. They want to be able to turn it back, and they actually might be able to with that in-place. Prowler is back in the field, and yeah, if Prowler's back in the field, we know what's going to be happening. Lots of hammers going in every which direction, up, down, sideways, maybe even diagonal at some point, but it gets the damage done.
Oh, I love it. Greater Johnstown, they're not too happy about this. They weren't able to capture 33% of objective progress. So right now they're looking at a situation where the Trojans will only be able to either draw, that's their best outcome for this map, or they'll lose if they forfeit that 33% of objective progress. Relatively attainable here, especially considering the time bank that Somerset have to work with. I've got to mention though, Salvo Prowler lighting up that kill feed there in that round. The previous attacking round for the Greater Johnstown Trojans, you had just Mythic with Nano Boost from River Galaxy, also just swinging to winning there with the massive hammer. And again, all of these players, I think that we've mentioned all of them at least twice now. They're all performing really well. I just, at the end of the day, I'm gonna leave the casting booth thinking to myself, this was a matchup characterized by just Reinhardt's free swinging on the objective.
Yes.
I'm all here for it. Who cares about the barrier? Reinhardt's not a shield tank. He's the tip of the spear here in these brawl compositions. He's effectively the most powerful DPS hero in these rosters. Now he's in the tank role, but you don't want to take a brawl against a nanoed Reinhardt, and that's going to be part of the win condition here for Greater Johnstown.
Yeah, you got that nano boost to work with, and it's a tough ask to hold it for over 4 minutes here. It's going to be rough, but it is definitely doable, depending on how you decide to play. And we're going to see the teleporter already in, up on the high ground. I like this from Arson, presenting much spam damage from me taken. But you're down Kit and Spy. We've traded support so far. How is this going to continue forward? It's just going to continue with Prowler charging straight into the team in typical Reinhardt fashion. And just like that, it is going to be blue team in favor of winning this point. Just needing that one tick available. Greater Johnston nowhere to be seen, and Somerset will be tying the series on our first ever assault map 1-1.
That was a great display from Somerset, and so there, like we had talked about a little bit after Oasis, Tiny, there we get to see that the map types of Overwatch, they all play remarkably differently, and they each map type as well as each map fosters different strengths. You see Kit and Spy kind of popping off there on the Moira. Objectively, the second worst hero in the game, but they get value out of it. You've got these long sight lines where you might want to run a sniper or one of those ranged hit scan heroes, but Trix Death and Yibo, they're making it work on the Junkrat. I'd love to see it. Ultimately, for me, on the 2CP, the assault game mode that we just got to see, it's all about that team synergy, that coordination, and definitely that was demonstrated by the Somerset area Golden Eagles.
Most definitely, and I mean, with that, you got to acknowledge we haven't seen any hit scan heroes remotely from what I can recall so far in this series, and these teams are playing to their comforts, and I think that's really admirable. If you're able to make your comfort picks work, that is going to work better than any other more established meta that you might be willing to pull out. If it's what you're good at, then run it. You want to be able to play your own game, and that's what I think. We haven't really seen too many counter picks either. These teams have just gone with what they know how to work with, and it's been working out great for both teams as they are tied 1-1. And with that, since we are in our best of 5 series, we will be taking a brief intermission while we wait for these teams to get set back up and ready to go for our third map here. Well, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Esport Company High School spring finals, quarterfinals, excuse me. We are back for map number 3 with the Somerset Golden Eagles, Johnstown Trojans currently tied even at 1 apiece as we get ready to head into Dorado momentarily here.
I mentioned to our producer during the break that, as a caster, you always feel like a god whenever you predict something is going to happen and it ends up happening. So seeing these teams as evenly matched as they really are, despite at times seeming decisive one way or the other, I got to say that's a big payoff for me. Ultimately, what it means, Tiny, is that we get to watch more Overwatch, and especially here amongst these two teams in particular, I'll never complain about that, especially considering the next map that we'll be going into. It's going to be the escort game mode. Name of the game is to move that objective in the form of a payload all the way from the beginning of the map to the very end. And I gotta admit, Tiny, at least in my ranked experience, this is not one of my preferred maps. I don't like this map. No.
I love this map. I love this one. You know what? Okay, I'm gonna give you this. It can be a pain sometimes. But, you gotta love it in the end. I'm also a Pharah main, so this is I love playing around the roofs here. So much fun. I'd like it here. And honestly, with both of these teams being so insistent, they love this Junkrat, they love this Pharah, all of these things are coming out. This might be a little bit of a nightmare for the attacking team moving through this first point in particular.
I would talk about that. I would, kind of follow up on what you said. I'm still kind of thinking about you being a dirty Pharah main. Of course, you'd like the moonlit streets of Dorado. But ultimately, I have to concede. You make a good point here. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a pretty harrowing attack, depending on where the defense wants to stage some of these fights. And it looks like right now what you're going to see. Normally, you'd see this on any of the other escort modes, but we're going to get the close hold here from the Somerset area Golden Eagles going on the defense here first. We're going to win the resource game.
Yeah, that's what you like to see, and I think Yibo. It didn't exactly mean to be in that exact position right now, and that flight from Trick's death is going to make sure that the backline from Somerset is decimated, making it easier for Grady Johnson to win that battle in the front, as that is still currently going on, and just trying to wipe these players out. And however, Somerset are still managing to stay alive with their supports and tanks alone.
Okay, wow. Okay, I'm going to put on my coaching hat here for a second. Somerset area, they were all set to lose that fight, as we say, in the neutral. That is, you lose a fight based on where you're positioned, but you can win a fight during the mid-fight with ultimates and abilities in those phases, and that's exactly what Somerset did. That's exactly what Savo's doing now!
Oh, dear. I'm just Mythic wanted to make it a gutsy pin there. That's what we're talking about. Prowler is able to see these opportunities and just capitalize them perfectly. Just like that. That was great. It was great.
On the defensive round, in a defensive formation, what we're seeing from the Golden Eagles is uninhibited aggression, spearheaded here by Savo Prowler on the main tank role. Gotta watch out, though. They need that defense here for the upcoming Shatter from Mythic. Unless they die.
Yeah, no, not really concerned about that Earth Shatter anymore. Like, this is brutal. Like, how often do you see spawn camps in this map? Now it's gonna be Trick's death. Wants to try to capitalize again by going around the back. Did manage to get one, and these respawns could be a difference maker. If Kitten Spy is able to get that res, it doesn't look like they're gonna be able to. So, it is a 65 situation, so Greater Johnson, it's now or never.
Yeah, they've got ults to work with, but they gotta navigate the self-destruct here first. It does claim Junie. That's a little unlucky.
This is interesting. That teleporter, probably just saved Arson's life. And this is the flank back around once again, and Mythic gets shattered a second time before even getting their own Earth Shatter out on the field.
Yeah, that's all you can say is just unlucky here. You asked Tiny, kind of when do you ever see this close hold? I'll tell you where I see it is in the top 500 clips on YouTube, where all of the team members are memeing just a little bit. Maybe Somerset area Golden Eagles, they're top 500 players in disguise. I'll have to check the ranked ladder after this.
Hey, we might actually need to do that, but again, look at that aggression on that pin. They just took out a support. Doesn't even care if he dies for that. You got the kill initially, and this is where we're going to see a different approach. I like this. If your one direction's not working, okay, you recognize that. You need to go somewhere else. Great. But now you got to remember that if your team gets caught out and so just separated, you're in a difficult position right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kitten Spy, as usual, able to equalize that man disadvantage with just the revive ability. Just Mythic has that nano, and are sitting on the shadow. They might not need it here.
And like you said, ooh,
right, Mythic.
Okay, see, this is what you said. Reinhardt is that big DPS hero with 500 health. You do not take a brawl with a nanoed Reinhardt. You're just not going to win that. That's exactly why. That nano boost from River Galaxy really proving to be the win condition. But that burned 3.5 minutes off the clock.
I mean, you know, how often do you see this close hold? How often do you see a team push through the choke of Dorado into the plaza with only 30 seconds here remaining? Yibo kind of popping off there, and Arsenuwu also going on the aggressive angle here, getting value at the same time.
This has just been Somerset's map so far. This is crazy. I don't know. Yibo managed to use both concussion by primary and... I mean, you can't even talk about that now as we're already moving on. Trix Prowler needs to make this even, needs to make it happen, and there's not even a contest here. This is huge defense from Somerset right now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you, there are two specific variables that I'd like to unpack here. I've run off on so many tangents now, but for Somerset, you know, again, I got to reflect back on that assault game mode, back on Hanamura, where they're all able to push. Here, you know, in your solo queue ranked games, you see your Reinhardt just make a hyper aggressive pin into the enemy backlines, and you're gonna call it what it is. That is feeding right there. But it's not as much feeding if the rest of the team follows you and capitalizes off of that space. Salvo Prowler, maybe they're getting lucky with some of these pins. Maybe they're getting bailed out by the attentive support line of the Golden Eagles. Thick Swiss and Kitten Spy representing my favorite role very well, but you know, ultimately it's just Somerset all following up on each other. That's absolutely glorious to see. You love seeing the individual plays, but I'm all here for the team play. Somerset's really coming through with that. For Greater Johnstown, I think the one thing that I want to see is I'm going to go back to Somerset here just a moment. In these fights that break out, no expenses are spared. If they have an ult, they're going to use it. I want to see that same energy exemplified from Greater Johnstown. If they're sitting on that Shatter, they've got that Nano, they've got that Gravitic Flux. Don't wait for the big moment. You know, don't wait to catch 6 in it. Just get 1. Just find a little bit of value. So we'll see if they can do that here on their defense.
That's probably going to be the big difference maker. And right now, Greater Johnstown wants to take a very similar approach to a very close hold, and I mean, you kind of have to with the composition that you're running right now. You want to get as much spam through you can. If you've shoved them through the small door, great, that's where to get the damage. We're seeing another aggressive print from Prowler. This time, however, it's going to be punished for it. Team not able to follow up on that one just yet. It is traded out for a Junkrat, but thankfully you have another main tank with MJ plays. Moving over to that Orisa, keeping the team alive in that front line despite the early death of the Reinhardt.
Yeah, ultimately, MJ on that Orisa is going to be so low, they're going to have to back off there. I do still like the approach here from Somerset. They're on that double main tank. You know, if you had a Lucio instead of Mercy here, the composition would be reminiscent of that spring 2021 era Rush composition, where Orisa was just hyper powerful. But now it's going to default to a more brawl-style comp with MJ plays on the D.Va.
The amount of fights that I've seen start with a pin is insane. Don't get me wrong, I love it, but the aggression is great, but you gotta be mindful of how this could affect the rest of your team. If you end up going down, your team is left without a main tank, and it can be devastating.
I see. Oh, nice block from Mythic!
That was ridiculous. Huge block, bro. Oh, wow. Love to see it. To end up getting pinned, but huge block.
I mean, I didn't even, I can see the ultimates online, but I wouldn't even been able to track that Shatter. Gotta watch out though, there's Molten Core in the back lines. Don't die to that!
Uh-oh, they can't back up anymore. That was actually great placement. If you can take that aggression early on and you just force Greater Johnstown to back up, you're walking straight into some lava. And unless you got some like boots of lava walk or something on, you're not moving through that anytime soon. And now you're just, what? I don't know why.
I can't believe you. This is Overwatch.
This is Overwatch. This is Overwatch. I know. I'm sorry. Gotta stick to the game. But hey, you know, you see it. You gotta take the opportunity. Oh, speaking of opportunity, there's an opportunity pin right there.
Hero of Somerset. So fun, man. This game makes me want to play Overwatch. I have done
I really wish
time.
my teams were like this.
Oh,
honestly,
man.
like this would just be so much more fun. I would pull a Reinhardt. I hate playing Reinhardt because you just get beat up on. But if you get to play it like this, I'm all over it.
That is
Look
just.
at this. Oh.
It's just absolutely nutty. I have to say, you know, sometimes the win condition for a team, it doesn't end up boiling down to a hero matchup or an ultimate combo like we got to see there on map 1. Sometimes it just boils down to you emulate the enemy team's strategy and you just try and run it better. It's what we call the mirror matchup, and definitely, I mean, the compositions have from both sides they've been brawl oriented, so it's kind of been a mirrored play style, but the Greater Johnstown Trojans, kind of forced into this position because of how little distance they were able to attain on that objective. Them going for the close hold, like Somerset did to the Trojans, I think that was absolutely marvelous. Ultimately, you just got to watch out for those off angles. You got to watch out for Arsenuwu looking to make plays on, the Sim, the Torbjorn, the Hanzo. We've seen on a myriad of heroes, and at this point, we're getting to that point in the series. It's match point territory. Somerset, they can win this if they win the next map. And Johnstown has to respond and defend not only the position that they're maintaining, but also the positions that the individuals of Somerset are looking to control. Great play from Arsenuwu with that Molten Core. I know it was kind of a brief moment that led into a cringy joke.
Okay,
but
I'm sorry. I had to do it. It was there,
it was available. But ultimately, that's going to be part of the win condition for Greater Johnstown. They're making some really great mid-game adaptations right now. We'll see if the series can go to 5 maps. That's the dream. But right now for the Trojans, the dream is really just to stay alive here heading into Castle Eichenwald. This is going to be the hybrid game mode. You got to capture that first objective and then move the payloads, the best of both worlds, that 2CP game mode and the leniency that the escort game mode provides. This isn't one of my favorite maps, but it's a great map for both of these team strategies.
Definitely. I mean, right now, if you're Johnstown, you want to think about, all right, how can we make this work? You got to work through. They got pretty hard held on Dorado. That never feels good mentally. This is going to be a time you got to rebound off of that. You're like, okay, we know that this is the last point here. This you cannot afford to lose this map right now, and you've got to figure out, okay, we got to reanalyze. What do we need to do? How do we need to attack, and what's the most efficient way to do it? It's a lot about this team coordination that you're able to set up, and that's really the beauty of being able to play with an established team. You're practicing with them so much, and you get a feel of how they play, and that's just peak Overwatch right there.
100%. The stakes, needless to say, like you mentioned, are high here for the Trojans. They're going to be going on the attack here first, but they're playing into that double barrier strategy. We'll see which shields are greater here as the war begins to ensue. Salvo Prowler goes aggressive once again.
Honestly, I'm really glad that pin did not go straight into that room. Either way, it resulted in a death. Resurrection is there, but at the cost of your support. Will it be enough? Oh, that's what we're talking about. Yee Evo making this Junkrat work out once again. Both of these Junkrats have been highlights for their teams in terms of just in the kill feed constantly. Look at this Yee Evo pushing all the way up just on this Sigma. Doesn't even know how to react to that.
I mean, Sigma just gets kind of bullied in that matchup, actually, if they don't have that kinetic grasp available to get some HP off of the raw damage that Yibo is pumping out. Speaking of raw damage, they've got a little bit more as well coming up online with that Riptire, but that's only one of 6 ultimates being generated for the defense right now.
Yeah, for sure, and it's already hard. These resurrections have been coming in huge from Kitten right now. Absolutely huge. And core.
Once again.
What? Oh my gosh! How does this even? How did the Torbjorn even get in there? I don't even know how that happened.
That is. No! Not the hammer! No! Tricks! Unlucky. Just unlucky.
Okay.
Still, Just Mythic is looking to push. That was almost 33. Oh, you got the tick! The Greater Johnstown Trojans. There's value to be found out of this fight.
33.4%, just over that 33.3 needed to get through. You will take what you can get. That will ensure that this isn't gonna be a draw situation. You have something to work off of. That's a gain in its own.
Oh, yeah. And now we see as well, Greater Johnstown, they've managed to push back the defending Golden Eagles. They're now holding the tower instead of that choke, but they're going to want to push off of that pick.
Mystic still, yeah, you're not going to do too much with that. That's just sheer raw damage going straight at you with not much to be healed from it. However, you want to say Johnstown is in a pretty good position on their own in terms of ultimate economy.
All we'll need to see from the Trojans is just to, watch those ultimates get used. Like I said, it's not about finding 6 with 1 ult. It's just about securing 1 or 2 eliminations. So we'll see if Just Mythic has the opportunity to use that Shatter. But look, they're already down their barrier, and they're walking to so much spam damage. Meanwhile, there's some really good defensive ultimates that can be utilized here for the Golden Eagles.
Okay.
You deserve that, Savo.
Yeah. Sorry, gotta say it. You deserved it. There's the Earth Shatter. Free as can be. Just Mystic making that happen easily. Team kill, and that's gonna be first point. Just like that.
Yeah, and just in the nick of time here as well, capturing with only about 30 seconds in the bank. I think it was a minute actually, and now they've got a little bit more margin for error heading into Streets phase. Typically you think of Castle Eichenwald storming it is kind of difficult because you've got this really high ground position that can be utilized by snipers, and oh no, it's the low ground being utilized by Savo here.
Oh, I was secretly watching the Reinhardt just kind of sneak his way around the back. Nobody knew it was happening. And just the Earth Shatter laid down. Oh, it's just Prowler things. Just like this right now. This is crazy. Doesn't even go so far. It doesn't even get the damage on the Sigma. And now your Reinhardt's out in the back line on his own. A lone Reinhardt back here with the Sigma that doesn't even know, has nothing to do against it.
He's like, I was taken here. I'm not back here of my own volition. I'd like to be in the front, but I'm not. And off of Salvo Prowler's hyper-aggression, you're seeing the attackers just, their formation crumbles as a result. Once again, despite their ultimates, you still have plenty online here for the Golden Eagles. That's the thing about the ultimate economy, right? It's an economy. Just like you gotta, they say, you gotta spend money to make money. Hasn't worked for me. But, you gotta spend ultimates to get those value. So I really want to see any of those 6 coming out now from the Trojans.
They got a lot to work with, and they can make it happen. They just need to do it before something crazy happens and they end up losing somebody in the meantime. And now, as they regain the control of the point, they do are up picks, and honestly, they're not even needing to use these ultimates. Oh,
nice directs from Trojan.
Those are huge. That's impressive. I still can't aim with Junkrat. I didn't
think you needed
It's
to.
crazy. Yeah, okay, you have a good point. You don't really need to aim with Junkrat, but hey, there's showing us what actual hitting shots on Junkrat can do. And they still have all 6 ultimates to work with, which is just crazy to think about.
Yeah, but once again, it's if you have a team who sits on 6 ultimates versus a team who uses 2 or 3 every team fight, which one is the better ultimate economy? Ultimately, you have to look at the defenders here. Still, Cooper able to shut down Yibo. That's big.
That's a really good start for them. And the Earth Shatter again. None of these ultimates being used. It's just Prowler going in once again. Has a Prowler on him. Doesn't even care about that. Just gonna go in and swinging until death. Might have a full HP shield. Doesn't matter.
All right, Cooper.
Trojan, yeah. Trojan Cooper bringing the explosives actually. Bringing it up, and now you're seeing some of the ultimates being used. Want to make sure this point continues a little farther. You want to get over the bridge, ideally. MJ plays, wants to turn this around into self-destruct for that Reinhardt shield. Perfect placement. I'm not sure what happened to Trix there.
They're gone.
Yeah, they're gone. We'll see them later, hopefully. We'll come back around once he actually wants to get back in the action. Mythic has this Earth Shatter, been holding on this for so long. Needs the right opportunity to use it anytime soon.
Or the Crusaders! Do it, Mythic! You haven't just used the ult!
Torborn in the backline once again. Now the ultimate is still in the bank, and Trix Death taking things into his own hands with that Dragon Strike. Oh, Reinhardt almost walking off the map. Oh, that scared me. The Gravitic Flux. The heroic. And you need things to happen. That's just it. And okay. That's it.
Still.
After that.
We're having too much fun here in the booth, Tiny. I think. I mean, oh man. Again, this is a best of 5 series, and
Yeah.
you can go into. I'm hoping that our viewers don't play Overwatch just solo queue ranked because it's just an
No.
abysmal experience. If you want to play competitive, play for a team. It's so much fun. But I can sit down for a couple hours and play a ranked session. You sit down with a set of teammates and you play these matches. It's long. It feels so much longer, so much more difficult, because you're playing against players who are just as highly coordinated, just as game kind of sense speaking, just as aware as you are, that there are signs where you begin to see things unravel for one side or the other. Here for Greater Johnstown, again, it's just the hesitation to use those ultimates that's really setting them back. Needless to say, capturing first objective, that was really well done for Greater Johnstown. They were able to move that cart to the bridge. They were able to surpass the arguably the most difficult part of Eichenwald's second point, that streets phase. So they're still walking into this with advantages that they can utilize. I just want to see now Cooper on the May and Tricksteth on the Soldier. I just want to see those two get a ton of value here.
And this is something new. I kind of like it. And Trojan, a lot of that pressure is going to be on them. If they can capitalize on Prowler inevitably overextending at some point, and this could be a really huge pick for them. But you can see how far back the aggression from Somerset isn't really there right now. They're just kind of, they're chilling back. They want to see if they can bait this Maypole out from Trojan.
Yeah, or just win that resource game, with all the spam that they've got to work with here as well. But in the meantime, Salvo, Prowler, their barrier is suffering. They're going to go in. Now's the chance to wall, sever the lifeline. Yes.
There you go. That's what you're talking about. And amazingly, Prowler is still alive somewhere. He's on the point, actually. And there's just so much confusion going on. Uh-oh. Doesn't even know the Reinhardt's there. It's like, uh-oh, what's happening here? Doesn't manage to land that Bionade, which could be really bad for Prowler. Eventually does wear off in time. This has been working out surprisingly well for Somerset. They're still in... They have the point presence needed to succeed in the battle, but do they have the numbers right now? That Resurrection, I believe, does even it out, and the healing is there. This Swiss just holding on to this Coalescence, ready to pull that out whenever necessary. That Nano Boost already, that could be the game changer right there, as Mystic already has it
Nice
out.
block.
Oh, huge block from Prowler. And these Reinhardts have been going at it just the whole time. It's been a Rhine battle, and then just everybody else from what it's seemingly been so far.
Big Blizzard? Maybe?
Ooh.
Claim Evo. Who else does it get? There's not that many here remaining for Greater Johnstown.
It would have been a great Blizzard had there been somebody else there to shoot the people that were frozen. It was a good idea. Trojan definitely had it. For Galaxy, probably taking a reset, might be swapping off that Lucio. And now that's what we're talking about. We did see, this is improvement. We did see Greater Johnson use a lot of these ultimates early on rather than holding on to them.
Yes! And now, Tricksteth and Cooper, Trojan 1, they're sitting in this position that makes the second point so harrowing for attackers. Greater Johnstown, they're all set to win a lot of these fights now, just based off the way they're positioning. It's still going to be an aggro hold here, but as long as they get the proper follow-up, they're looking pretty good. Oh, watch out for Arson. They're going to do it for a consecutive time.
Well, they are spotted out. They are taking shots from Junie in the back, so they might be aware that he's there. But are you going to be able to actually avoid what they're doing in the back line? Oh, does get damage off the remake. Doesn't get a kill. Now there is the Molten Core in the back line. Once again, this has been a reoccurring strategy from Arson. It does make the area difficult to play around, and it's working out really well for Attack Torb.
Oh yeah, and it's so much different from not again, not again. Oh, thank goodness Swiss was able to pick up that final blow. It's so much different the way that Arsenal is playing from the DPS that we see in our solo queue ranked games. Where they'll operate on that off angle, that flank for just way too long. Arson has a great awareness of when to go for the flank and when to play in the mid line. We see them consistently defaulting to that position. Now Greater Johnstown on the back foot.
Yeah, we see this Earth Shatter from Mystic is available.
Nice elimination on the tire. Oh no!
Oh, there we go. Prowler booping him off the map. And just again, this pure aggressive play will secure Somerset the map and the series. Just like that, I didn't even expect it to occur that quickly with how that looks like it was going. And here we are at the end of their first quarterfinal match, and it'll be Somerset moving on forwards.
A spectacular performance from both teams. I just got to say that. Joker and I miss him so much. Have a running joke is, even if you win, you kind of lose. This Somerset Golden Eagles, they'll be moving on to play against the Forest Hills Rangers, and that is a dreadful matchup. Just keeping it real with you guys, Forest Hills, they're the number one undefeated seed for a reason. But I'll tell you, Tiny, if the Golden Eagles are able to play like this in their matchup against Forest Hills, who so consistently lean into the strengths of the meta game, the relative power levels of the entire Overwatch roster, I think that there's some really great opportunities that Somerset will be able to utilize to at least give Forest Hills a run for their money.
Definitely. Somerset showed a lot of strengths that they have today, and that's really going to work out. It shows that they have the ability to work off them just as well. We see Yibo on that Junkrat, just consistent the entire time. We saw great flanks from Arson. We saw flanks from Prowler as well. We saw a lot from Prowler today, as a matter of fact. Consistent in the sport line all around. Thick Swiss and Kitten Spy, just huge performances on both ends. The amount of times that those resurrections have come in key, or the speed in which those coalescences have been able to occur is just ridiculous. And it's kept them in the fight for so long, turning unwinnable situations into winnable fights. And they're deserving of this next spot. They're able to move on and probably will keep moving forwards as they will play in Forest Hills later on.
Yeah, and that's going to be an exciting game. For the time being, Somerset moves forward, and the Greater Johnstown Trojans, they are out. But before we send it to a break to launch into our second series of the afternoon, going to be very exciting as well. Definitely make sure you stick around. I do want to say, Greater Johnstown Trojans, I've gotten to watch you guys over the entire course of the season. You guys have consistently demonstrated that individual clutch potential, as well as the team synergy that Overwatch requires to come out on top of matchups. I used to say, because I was so naive and not jaded like I am now, I feel like an old man, that the only bad games we play are the ones where we don't learn anything. And Greater Johnstown, I've got to say, they did not have a single bad game this entire season. For Greater Johnstown Trojans, GG's. I hope to see you guys very soon. Y'all had a great run, and you guys are all awesome. But congratulations to Somerset on the win for now.
Yeah, for sure. My dog agrees. I don't know if you heard him in the background, started howling. That's your salute goodbye. We will miss you. Good job to both teams. We're looking to see you guys in the future. With that, that will be the conclusion of match number 1. We will be heading into a small break before we continue with our second match of the day. Make sure you stick around with that. We'll be back momentarily. Welcome back, everyone, to the esports. Excuse me, I'm gonna mess this up every time. The Esport Company High School Spring 2022 Overwatch Division 1 series. I am Tiny Shiny back here with the Lord Ethan, ready to bring you match number 2 of the day. Right now, we are going to be seeing Windber go against Moshannon Valley for another quarterfinals match yet again.
Yeah, quarterfinals number 2, and just taking a look at the schedule kind of bracket standings. It's an all-in-one for you guys. We like to make things easy. You did have the Somerset area Golden Eagles take the series against the Greater Johnstown Trojans. So we'll be moving up into that game against Forest Hills. Definitely a tough matchup, but Tiny, you and I expressed hope for them in the future matches. For this series, the Windber Ramblers versus the Moshannon Valley Gaming Knights. Oh, that's so unironically. What a cool name. The winner of this series will be moving up against Bishop Carroll. Both Bishop Carroll, Forest Hills got a bye this week. You know, we'll focus on those matchups when they happen. But this one, you know, I think on paper it looks to be a little less decisive, or sorry, a little more decisive, rather, in favor of the Windber Ramblers than our previous series. But I'm still excited. I think that there's a lot to look forward to from both of these teams.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm expecting to see a bit of a different pace from what I have been told and the bits that I have seen from these teams in the past. We might be seeing a bit more of a formation related to maybe a more established meta rather than just kind of all over the place compared to what we saw last time. It might be likely we do see that Reinhardt again. These teams do seem to love that in the beginning. I am curious to see how this play style will vary depending on the maps we'll be going in. Speaking of maps, go over our map pool once again, starting out here on Oasis and then Hanamura and Dorado. Those 3 will be played for sure in the very beginning. Get another peek at that 2CP map. But yeah, for now, we'll be starting out on Oasis. And Ethan, how are you thinking that this match is going to play out so far? You know a bit more about these teams than I do. Given what you know about them, do you think that one team is particularly favored in Oasis in general?
Yeah, you know, I think that Windber, like I mentioned earlier, they're you know, on pen and paper, they're a little bit more favored in this matchup, and representing them is a really strong squad as well. Here, leading the front lines as the tank players is Andrew and Xander, with the DPS slots being filled by Garrett and Ben. Oh, we've seen devastating damage from them in the past, and finally, Veronica and Owen are going to be backing up the team on the support heroes, the healers, and you know, as well, they can be DPS players as well at times.
You'll love to see the flexibility just within these rosters. And speaking of that, we're going to go over to Moshannon Valley, looking at what their team is. On the tank, we are going to have Austin and Jaden for those roles being the spearheads of the team. DPS, we're going to have see Teddy and Jeremy dishing out the damage. And finally, rounding it off, Austin, another Austin. I forgot your initials, I apologize. And Annabelle on the support duo.
Yeah, it should be very exciting. You know, I know that previously Teddy really favors that Bastion pick, and as well, you know, we've seen some really big shining star moments from Annabella as the Mora player here for the Moshannon Valley Gaming Knights. We'll see if they can game hard in this matchup against Windber area Ramblers, who, you know, like you and I mentioned, Tiny, you know, they kind of lean towards the relative power scaling of the Overwatch roster, where Moshannon Valley, they prefer those comfort picks. And like I mentioned for the previous series, you know, this is the quarterfinals. It's time to bring that A game, time to make those heroes, those strategies really work. And we'll have to see how that plays out. Starting off here on Oasis Gardens once again.
We see these 2 different strategies being pulled out to see how they clash. It's like 2 different flavors. Which one's really going to overpower the other, I guess you could say. And already, I don't know if these rosters are going to stick. We are seeing a Winston on the field. First time not seeing a Reinhardt today. Moshannon favoring that side so far. Which I find very interesting. And we also have both sides running that Mercy pick with those resurrections available, which really is going to extend these fights for even longer.
Yeah, I'll tell you what's interesting about Moshannon Valley is, you know, despite not having the Rhine, this composition, the way it's supposed to work, that's a devastating pick there, secured by Garrett on the Hanzo. The way that their comp works is, you know, Winston still ends up playing like the Reinhardt. This is a brawl composition, but right now the brawl is being won by Windber.
Yeah, Windber winning this out easily. Both the supports went down just to some excess spam damage in the field. It's really an unfortunate way for this match to start, and it's going to be Windber with that first capitalization.
Yeah, some early point progress, and Moshannon Valley, that's not a bad fight to lose either. Ooh, back out of there for Austin W. You gotta live for now. It's not a bad fight for Moshannon to lose just really quickly. They're gonna be able to reset and take this next fight pretty quick. Look, though, Garrett has the read on Moshannon Valley, though.
Moshannon Valley, they want to go up through this tiny point, but that's so difficult when you're at the mercy of the Hanzo and Junkrat's damage, and look at the amount of damage that the Winston has been taking, and just the Dragon Strike to follow it up, ensuring nobody escapes from their sights. And yeah, that's just the huge plays that we were talking about from Garrett.
Yeah, you know, and as well, Veronica's able to bring back that tank in Xander. So you know, now there's no man advantage to capitalize off of. Ooh, looks like Jeremy's caught out. They know he's there. Get out, Jeremy. Just live for now.
Jeremy might be able to keep his life if he's lucky. We do see Teddy moving over to his signature hero onto the Bastion.
The Bastion. Everyone's favorite.
Look where he's set up. Oh, okay.
To no avail.
Yeah, it's okay. It happens. Oh, and there's the Riptire. This has just been, it's been on the plain side so far. Windber have just been managing these ultimates so well. It's very not contested very well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, all of these fights, they're not only, you know, kind of taken on Windber's terms, but they're also won on their terms as well. For Moshannon Valley, you know, swapping heroes in Overwatch is a good idea. You know, the question is, can you give... Oh, that's a crazy shot. That was a nice read there onto Teddy, who's now swapped onto the Doomfist. So the thing about swapping heroes is that you lose any semblance of ultimate generation you've gotten on the previous hero. So that's a little bit of a setback here for Moshannon, but they're ready to start this next fight.
And they're just gonna take it, taken through that Dragon Strike in the beginning. Roadhog not able to make it through, but there's the Earth Shatter laid down by Windber. Managing to make that work. They win the mid-tank duel, and now with overtime beginning to burn down, this is about gonna be it for Moshannon. Doomfist has to win a 1v6 fight here, but not gonna be the case, as it is gonna be the cleanup for Windber. Easily taking this first point.
Absolutely, and as well, you see that Windber, you know, still had some resources to fall back on. In particular, I think that was Veronica who ended up having that rally online. And for anyone who plays Overwatch, they know that armor itself is already pretty busted, able to mitigate damage just in and of itself. But as well, rally. I mean, I'll die on this hill. It is the absolute best support ultimate in the game. 10 armor per second, up to 100 additional armor over 10 seconds. I mean, that's arguably more damage mitigation than you get out of a Sound Barrier or Transcendence, depending on the situation. So I'm glad to see Windber stay on this Brig pick. I love playing Brig on Oasis. This is a great map for her, but we'll see if that sustain can last in the presence of immense amounts of damage that the Gaming Knights will be able to dish out. I like Austin S on this Orisa pick, I'll be honest.
The Gaming Knights are running double main tank here, but not in the typical fashion you would expect with this Arista-Winston combo. It's going to require a lot of resources, but again, this has been insane. Garrett on this Hanzo has been popping off, and the Winston already having to dive all the way out. This Bastion's also set up on the side. Look at this. Windber's Junkrat is already trapped in this corner, able to eventually make their way out. With the point barely being held from contention, as Moshannon eventually are forced to step off.
I mean, you know, these are the quarterfinals, so both of these teams, you know, they've done their homework. For Windber, you know, Garrett likes the Hanzo anyways, but Hanzo's a great pick against Moshannon Valley's, Teddy's very own Bastion. As well, Moshannon Valley understand that Garrett is a win condition on this Hanzo, and Ven is absolutely devastating as well. So I think that that's why we see Jaden on this Winston pick. It's just to deny space there.
This is crazy. Thankfully, you have the Mercy to get the Resurrection off there. Veronica has been doing well on that. They did end up swapping roles for who was playing the Mercy versus the Moira. And now, this is really hard to finally move in. If you're the Bastion, you got to be able to get a good place to sped up, but it is so hard when Garrett has you locked down in his sights. And you're struggling to find a good opening to get around and actually put some feet on the point.
Ooh, wow, that was hyper aggressive there from from Garrett, but we saw that that Andrew was right there to back him up, make sure that that they don't lose their life trying to go after something. That's your your risk taking, and that's absolutely an essential skill here in Overwatch. Definitely running the Bastion here is a risk. Watch out for that line of sight. Able. Oh, I thought they were gonna live, but I mean, again, Windber Ramblers able to follow up on each other really well. They've got more ultimates coming into this fight too. That's a serious advantage, especially considering they are the defenders at this point.
Indeed, and already, just the initiative that has been taken so far is ridiculous. Look at this.
Yeah, that's absolutely nutty. I mean, every game we see Windber and Garrett on the field, it looks like Garrett's playing the game of their life. And, one of those jokes with Hanzo is it luck or is it skill? With Garrett, you always got to assume it's just raw skill. They always have the game of their life.
Yeah, I mean, Hanzo's one of those heroes that you're either going to get a lot of value or going to get little to nothing done. And this is what we're seeing. This is the value that you need to just hitting these headshots, even where it matters. And, oh no! The Primal Rage isn't able to get back on the point, leaping just a little too high, and Windber had taken that in a sweep. Yeah, kind of like I mentioned, this series on pen and paper, it plays out a little bit more favorably here for the Ramblers. But for the Gaming Knights, I got to reiterate the same sentiment I mentioned in the first series of the afternoon, is just that, you can afford to drop that first control point map. In a best of 5 series, there's a slightly greater margin for error. So at the very least, for Moshannon Valley, they are not in they're not in that match point territory. It means that they can swing things back in their favor with a great performance heading into the escort game mode and Dorado I'm sorry, not the escort game mode. See, I'm so used to it because tournaments all use escort as the second, or hybrid as the second game mode. We're heading into 2CP, so this is a chance for the defensive formation that Orisa, double shield, Bastion. That's Moshannon Valley's advantage to play into this next map. The Gaming Knights here might be one of their peaks. This map is made for them, at least from a defensive perspective. And if you're gonna make something look different, now's the time to do it. When you're at such an advantage, I believe Moshannon will be attacking first based on the positioning that they were in previously. So they'll be the ones to set that initial pace, and that initial pace actually does bring a lot forward, even just from a mental standpoint.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've had lots of conversations on broadcasts with casters where kind of we talk about do you like to defend first or attack first, and for the most part people prefer defending. They get the opportunity to read their opponents, kind of see how they want to play. But again, both of these teams, they've done their homework. They understand already how they each want to play, and I got to say the responses, especially in terms of hero selection from both of these teams, is absolutely stellar. Teddy is going to run what Teddy wants to run, right? So for Moshannon Valley to say, look, we can enable you with that double barrier format. We can make space for you as Orisa and Winston. Our supports can make sure that that you receive constant care. That's all very that makes things very doable here for the Gaming Knights. Brief mention here for Moshannon Valley as well. You'll have a little bit of a swap coming in. So MV Esports 4, which is Annabella, will be moving from the support role to the DPS role. Jeremy will take up that healing responsibility. Meanwhile, for Windber Ramblers, they are running out on the same formation. They know it works. Let's see it in action.
Yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, that's for sure. And now we actually are going to be seeing the Pharah. Actually, that's on the attack. That could change. So let's talk about the defense for now. Windber going to be starting out on that again. Like you said, you want to get a good initial start to how this defense could play out. And we're seeing the Junkrat, once again, been a favorite today. As always, you can never go wrong with the Junkrat. As well as the Soldier 76 is, once again, going to be on the field. Garrett moving over to a hit scan role rather than that of the Hanzo. There's a lot of damage potential that could be taking place here, but the main thing is you're going to be wanting to keep an eye out for Annabelle on that Pharah.
Yeah, and I think that, that's kind of why Windber has Garrett on the Soldier 76, is to more easily deal with that. The crucial thing here is that both sides have the Mercy. So you're looking at not only a lot of damage to be dealt by the DPS, but a lot of damage amplification that can be facilitated there by the Mercy. But that's a nice opening pick from Teddy.
Yeah, it's a huge opening pick, and the res is able to be denied based on the positioning that is located in. for now. That was a great opening. However, team played off a bit more than you could chew. Got caught off in the point there. Still, trades are pretty even despite how spread out this fight has been going so far.
Yeah, well, and, you know, Windber has an attacker's advantage as well. So, you know, one elimination ends up being a little bit more devastating for the defense. Oh, Teddy, you gotta now walk into the fire strike. And unfortunately, ends up navigating into the line of sight there of Garrett. It's a slow push here from the attackers, but it's still very doable here from Moshannon Valley.
Oh, barely. Oh, that was so close. I was afraid Jaden was going to go down here. On this Winston been making it work. They're kind of brawling it out over on the side here. Split up. Oh, look at this angle right now. That is ridiculous. That's the power of Junkrat right there. Just his ability to displace and damage from angles where you don't even always see him at.
Oh my goodness, that is devastating. Here for Windber, they're demonstrating a really great principle of Overwatch, and that is just how quickly, you know, instances of damage ramp up from insignificant to significant to lethal instances of damage. And here for Windber, they're bringing all the lethality against Moshannon Valley, who really just need to wait, group up, get their wits about them, and then make a successful push. They've got ultimates to do so, namely the Valkyrie here from Austin W. might make this next fight a very meaningful one.
That's what we want to do, and we're seeing the positioning of Teddy right now. Wants to get in just a little bit of a head on this BAP. If they can get this BAP teased off the high ground, that's the majority of the healing for Windber gone. But even this, look at the positioning of that Soldier 76. Nobody can really get up there except for that Winston. He's just is free reign right now. And it's just, yep, here's the ultimates that we've been looking for. 7 HP, Teddy somehow managing to stay alive. There's the Riptire as well. Huge from Ben. I'm gonna keep this fight alive, likely on the defense. So close to earning a tick, just a tiny bit more space needed, and unfortunately probably not gonna be happening right now as everybody from Windber has returned to the point, not letting any progress be gained.
Yeah, and ultimately you're able to conserve quite a handful of ultimates here from Windber as well. You know, I gotta mention something you said earlier was just that, you know, right now Garrett on the Soldier 76 is just kind of untouchable. And, you know, that's part of the reason, I imagine, why Jaden is on this Winston is, you know, to help cross the distance, dive the sniper that Garrett was playing as Hanzo. And now they have to figure out how to navigate all the damage that can be dealt against them on the Monkey Scientist himself. This is a composition from Windber that I look at. If I was playing Winston, I'd be like, this is an unfun comp to play Winston into.
It's not the most fun, but when you think about it, there's only so many ways you can really get up and contest these players. Like, you have them so spread out, you're at the mercy of one while you're trying to attack the other. Like, there's only so much that can be done at that point. Now that you have the Primal Rage on the field, you're pinned up against the wall with the whole hog. Managing to stay alive.
Let's go, Teddy!
We got Teddy on the Bastion. Managed to get 2. This could be a winnable situation. As it's on the point. Now we're seeing the Bastion on the point here. I believe we received the Nano Boost as well. The Solo Shatter, however, going to be putting an end to that ride. There are still players available for Moshannon Valley. They want to get at least something down on the point in their name with 2 supports and 1 Reinhardt available. It's going to be difficult to do. So much healing going in face of that Reinhardt. And it's just player after player being traded out. And now Garrett back in the field. All that damage has returned. Don't need to worry about all that healing anymore, as Windber will be making a full hold.
Yeah, you know, definitely easier said than done here for any defender of the 2CP game mode, but a really well-oriented defense. It was a formation that we saw from Windber that honestly could have been exploited. For the Moshannon Valley Gaming Nights, you know, I played a game of the open queue game mode where you can play any role. It's not locked to 2-2-2. And I nearly got full held against like 3 or 4 snipers on the enemy team. And that's what Moshannon Valley is doing with a Baptista on the high ground, a Soldier 76 all the way on the opposite catwalk. You know, you've got so many angles that you're playing into. If you are playing a dive tank, if you are playing, you know, the Reinhardt, what are your options? You can dive one and take damage from the other. You can walk through the courtyard and not be able to shield both angles, so you lose a support, and that's the, you know, that's your point presence, your sustain when the team fight actually happens on the objective itself. It's a tough situation that Moshannon Valley was playing into their attack, but with this double shield Bastion composition, I think that they should make the defense plenty viable. They just have to stage right for it. I gotta mention as well, I do really like Annabella on this Hanzo pick. Go Hanzo diff Garrett here.
You know what? I want to see it, but, you know, Windber did have a bit of an advantage there. Moshannon unable to get set up just in time for the push to be made. They saw the opportunity and went in too late, but the Reinhardt came straight into the path. This is reminiscent of what we were seeing last game, and wow, who knew that if you're down 2 already initially, that just the power of just one hero can turn it around.
Holy moly, I called Reinhardt the tip of the spear earlier, but you've got Andrew out here
of it right there.
playing like a javelin, throwing themselves into the midline of Windber Ramblers, of Moshannon Valley, and just, you know, that's the important thing about playing tank, is sometimes you just have to know when you can afford to shoulder off damage and keep moving forward. I think that's a reference to Meet the Robinsons. Oh, I love that film. But oh man, and it ends up being play the game as well. That's a big highlight here for Andrew. I know we love talking about Garrett and Ben here in the booth, but man, give Andrew plenty of love as well.
Oh yeah. Well, while that pin was incredibly risky, pinning straight into a firing Bastion, you gotta give him credit for that. That was gutsy, but it paid off. And it's gonna be back at match point. Here we are as Windber now up 2-0, and it's now on Moshannon Valley. They have to come up with something out of the pocket to make Dorado become their map, and hopefully the next 2 after. Otherwise, this will be the end for them, and Windber will be moving on. But we will not be finding out just yet, as we will be having a brief intermission. Once again, stay tuned. We will be back with you momentarily with some more Overwatch quarterfinals action. Alrighty, welcome back once again to our quarterfinals match of the Spring 2022 Overwatch Division 1 series. Right now it's Windber Area Ramblers up 2-0 currently, putting them at match point against the Moshannon Valley Gaming Knights right now, and it's looking a little grim for Moshannon Valley right now. It's the point. You got to turn it around and bring it back in. It's your season's on the line, and it's a time to bring it back.
Well, and kind of like I mentioned for Somerset area, even if you win, you kind of lose because you end up going up against the Bishop Carroll Huskies, who are definitely a strong team. But for Moshannon Valley, they're playing a tough matchup. You have these moments where the strategies that they're comfortable on running, they don't pan out, so they're forced to be flexible. And you gotta admire that from a team. You gotta admire that from players. Just the willingness to change up the strategy. You mentioned before we went into the break, that they've got to pull something kind of out of pocket. They got to, maybe pull the rug out from Windber, subvert their expectations. For now, Moshannon Valley won't be doing that. They will be falling right back onto that iconic Moshannon Valley strategy, and we'll just have to see it pay off here on the attack. It's that pirate ship comp. You get set up on that objective, and it becomes very difficult to move you, but how viable is setting up on the objective when you've got Windber making the close hold? This is fantastic. I can't wait to see, oh goodness, I lost my list of players. I can't wait to see Andrew pop off here on the Reinhardt with this close hold.
It's gonna be crazy. We love seeing these close holds on this map right now. However, Moshannon Valley are now aware that there are some players in the room. The Bastion, unfortunately, was not, and falls victim to that hook at the beginning. A nice sleep onto the Roadhog. It will result in their demise. That's a huge pick. And with the resurrection there, this is looking really good for Moshannon Valley to get this cart on the move.
Yeah, they're going to be able to really make a little bit of progress here. Gonna have to shut down Owen on this high ground. Look up, Teddy. There's someone in the air above you. I don't think Owen will last very long in this position. Neither will. I think that's Garrett there on the Widowmaker. So, Moshannon Valley's they've lost both supports.
Yeah, you're down your supports right now. You're still held up on this cart. And look at where the Baptiste is right now. Owen is caught out way in the back line. Finally, we'll be resetting, but Garrett is still managing to find these pickoffs here and there. It's just been a lot of staggering progressively as the payload continues to move on forward.
I think Teddy's still set up on it as well, so even despite the man disadvantage, you've got Teddy on the objective, making the most of it. Might be able to solo cap this first point. What?
Wait, no. Oh.
Teddy's the MVP of the series, end up my heart. I'll say it.
Oh, gosh.
I'll die in this hill. Oh, that's a nice shot from Garrett. Nice.
Okay. All right, Garrett, we see you. But Teddy takes the credit there. In the end, it's the objective that matters. Sure, kills are great, but it's the point that defines the game. Now you're in a position. Yeah, this Bastion has not moved from the cart since Teddy's gotten on it.
You might call it lazy, but I'd call it a strategy here. Is just Teddy popping off, like I mentioned. Garrett and Ben, they're absolutely devastating. But Teddy's a real champ here. Just face tanking the tire, no fear whatsoever.
Nope, doesn't even care. This guy, he's on Bastion. He's a tank. He thinks he's a tank that it's just gonna power through. But the resurrection actually isn't gonna be there since the Mercy fell to that as well. And now you're just at the mercy of Jaden in that small room. It's not going to be great. However, it is still players on the point for Moshannon Valley. They don't want to give up that space just yet. They know it's going to be challenging for them to get back on. But that whole hog really cleared a lot of that space they needed. Xander on top of that one.
Oh my goodness! You've got Austin W. who's nanoed. Have they whipped out the Glock?
No,
they just
I don't
stay
think
healing.
so.
No, you gotta whip out the pistol when you get nanoed as Mercy, but that's okay. Maybe a little bit of a misclick, but Annabella has this barrage coming into this next fight. That's a big boon here for Moshannon Valley.
Ooh. Yeah, you know what? Great, and here, that's a great barrage. You got some value. Usually, if you could just barrage, get a kill, and stay alive, that is what we call value. Yeah. And ultimate can be a death sentence sometimes. However, it isn't looking so great for the rest of the Windber right now. or excuse me, from Moshannon. I'm getting my teams mixed up all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long day of Overwatch for us in the booth, production, and both of these teams. But hopefully we'll see this series continue a little bit longer. Moshannon Valley, honestly, they've made a little bit more progress here than even I thought that they would. Teddy's Bastion strat is really paying off. Annabella on the Pharah is making a lot of devastating damage to navigate through. And the tanks from Moshannon Valley, they're doing exactly what they need to do to allow their DPS players to succeed. We'll see if they can succeed capturing the second point.
They might be able to. Here's yet another Riptire. The Pharah does have eyes on it. Just needs so low. But that's the triple kill you needed. The perfect trio you want to get. And that's... the Earth Shatter was laid down by, Jaden. Not going to get much done as the team kill still is going through.
Still though, because of Teddy's, very rapid solo capture, you've still got quite a bit of time here in the bank. 2.5 minutes, in a game of Overwatch really isn't that much time. So there's not a lot of luxury here to work with for Moshannon Valley, but at the very least, they've got a couple more fights and an early pick.
Almost as well, unfortunately. Not enough pellets to be able to connect, and that's just going to be the Ionate is the death sentence there for that Roadhog player. Now here's the Dragon Blade, 30 HP, already been down so low. Will he be able to get more? No, that holds perfectly comboed into that rocket from above. And there's the Earth Shatter we're going to see from the opposing team. Windber want to make sure that they can get this back, but with Bastion back on the payload, this is the last situation that they wanted to happen. Teddy is back on his throne, continuing his reign of terror from above. Just look at that. With the damage and from the supercharger as well. Oh.
And that's your second point capture here, going to Moshannon. Let's go, Gaming Knights! They still end up sacrificing the bongo there. It's still up. It'll still help Annabella get up to that next ultimate. It's still clean shots coming out from Garrett here. Really just looking for our ultimate percentage and maybe a tenuous stabilization here for Windber. I gotta say, one thing that I'm really appreciating about this series is that, neither side is really worried about bad investments of ultimates. Here's the nano tank configuration. Nano
tank, nothing in sightlines just yet. Right now, it's just gonna be checking down the rectangle man way in the front, but already that Dragon Strike from Garrett has been built up, taking the lives of 3 before finally stopped. And at this point, you just might want to turn yourself around instead of do that. But you know what? It is okay. You are gonna reset just the same.
Oh, Garrett wanted to go in. I'm sorry, Jaden wanted to go in there. Jaden wanted to play the video game, have a little bit of fun. They're working with the Earth Shatter, so they'll be able to have fun in this next fight. But look at this, instead of operating on that high ground position, Windber has instead opted for a close hold here on the third objective of this choke. It's really going to help to prevent Teddy from really properly setting up.
Yeah, it is, and Veronica once again, or not Veronica, Annabelle, my apologies, is finding value with this barrage, but this Roadhog, other plans in the back with this whole hog. It's a whole lot of hog, if we do say so, and it's just going to be another attempt from Moshannon Valley. They got time. You're not too worried.
I mean, they've found captures on both of the latter objectives. Capturing this third point, it's a little bit more harrowing on the escort game mode, but it's still very doable here. This is not a bad position for the cart to be maintained for either side here, but ooh, is that the shatter? Nice.
So yeah, nice block, and the counterpin is there as well. We do see trades in the support department on both sides. And we have the Earth Shatter on the side of Windber right now. Not really doing much yet. And again, is that Garrett in the back line? Oh, I take that back. He's not in the back line. There's another Hanzo. They swapped to the Hanzo. There's Annabelle's on the Hanzo instead of the Pharah. So much going on. I'm not used to seeing it without the names, but hey, you know what? They're still extraordinary. And Garrett looking shots. Who is going to win this 1v1?
Oh, it's not going to be Garrett. Garrett's going to back out. Coward! Go back and fight! Ultimately, Annabella going down here, it's not too much of a deficit for Moshannon Valley, but losing Teddy definitely is. They're looking at a reset here, and they're running out of time.
There's the Dragon Strike available. That Mercy, didn't even see the Hanzo above. Oh, here we go again. This is Garrett, we know. Just on this Hanzo once again, and now you have to go back in. You have less than 30 seconds. Somebody is to be able to get on that payload to even trigger the overtime, and now we're seeing another pin that could possibly turn this fight around if you could get someone to touch the payload.
I mean, 10 seconds to touch here. Things are looking dire. Come on, Annabella, you can
Yeah.
win this 1v1 against Garrett. You are the better Hanzo. Let's get him.
Come on.
At the very least, the rest of Moshannon Valley, they can move on to the objective with Garrett distracted.
Yeah, hey, you know what? It's actually great. Even if neither are getting value, that means that they cancel each other out. It's a fair 5v5 on the point, but one that will be won by a Reinhardt who has a giant hammer swinging it around. Ooh, and with that, the Hanzo 1v1 still going on. Finally 1v out in the very last second, but man, it was a really good push from Moshannon Valley. You have to give them a lot of credit for getting that far on the map. Third point in Dorado is very challenging to get through.
Oh yeah, and you know those first 2 captures, I gotta reflect back on that solo first point cap there from Teddy, just hanging out on the objective, letting Windber kind of wrap around, figure out how they wanted to approach it. Maybe a little bit nervous of walking up to a bastion with 300 bullets in their magazine, but you know it's just great stuff here from Moshannon Valley, really helping to give them a little bit of an edge in this map. But they're gonna have to keep up that energy if they're committed to this strategy. They have to find a way to make it work. That's the name of the game. At the end of the day, you can counterpick an Overwatch, or you can just sit ever steady on a certain composition. But if you're playing up against adversity, you've got to overcome those obstacles. I think, namely 2 of those obstacles here represented by the Windber Ramblers is Garrett and Andrew in particular. They're really getting the moment to shine this series. I know that Garrett gets every time to shine, and really we haven't gotten to talk as much as I'd like, being a support player, about the faithfulness of the Rambler support line. Veronica and Owen are just so consistent that they're almost hidden in plain sight. But things are again, they're doable here for Moshannon Valley. They just have to win these fights with positioning, have to win them in the neutral, and then when the ultimate exchange happens, just be responsive to how Windber wants to play.
I mean, it's definitely to do, and this positioning, I find to be very interesting. You put a Winston bubble around the bastion, quite peculiar, but this positioning might turn out to bite them, as they now are vulnerable to the shots from the Hanzo on the high ground, and already we're seeing that go down. The Resurrection, all able to get off, so that's actually really big, but the Bionade will be the end of that. All gathered in a corner, perfectly placed for the DPS players of Windber to get those last cleanups.
I think the kids are saying like shooting fish in a barrel these days. I think that's the hip lingo there. Ultimately for Moshannon, again, I've got to reiterate on Oasis. That's not a bad fight to lose. You wear down a little bit of time in the bank, you generate a little bit of your ultimates, and you still get a second fight here in the plaza. Oh, but you might lose Teddy.
Ooh.
Oh, goodbye, Teddy.
Anymore. We'll see you later. To get there with that Winston bubble in place.
Nice.
Yeah, Resurrection is successful. See that? That's the thing with the Mercy. Yeah, that's huge. Austin getting that off. Really gonna be the turnaround, but not with the amount of damage that is being done by this Hanzo player. It's just insane. There's so much spam damage in every direction. You'd almost consider it to be a bit of a nightmare to play Bastion into.
Yeah, absolutely. Windber's composition, aside from the support lineup, it's designed to get Teddy into less comfortable positions and just deny him in particular value.
Yeah.
You see, I mean, this aggressive push from Garrett here. It's just really great understanding of kind of when to engage, when to disengage. We see that emulated in Annabella here on the Pharah as well. They kind of knew that the fight was lost, and she was going to back right out so that she didn't end up getting staggered. Now she can go up and contest this high ground where Owen is playing maybe a little haphazardly. So now Moshannon Valley control a pretty advantageous position.
For pretty much any map in general, the second point high ground is so oppressive, and this is where we're seeing the value out of it. That if you can't get up there, it's just difficult to get to, and in the end, Windber are proving that it doesn't really matter if you can force all the players back down and just hit shots like that. Wow. All right.
Holy moly. Yeah, right indeed. These guys are all students, so they're all too familiar with the the teachable moments in their lives, but that right there from Garrett, that was a sheeshable moment. Still, you'll see a contest here from Moshannon Valley.
Oh, you know what? That was hilarious. It was super cringy, but it was hilarious, and Derby's Riptire, nothing to laugh about, especially in, I don't even know, can Moshannon even get back here once this animation ends here? This payload will just be moving right in. Some player's gonna have to leap over the top. This might be over. And,
They're not able to touch.
and it's going to be the end of our second match of the day, and it will be Windber moving on to third seed to the semifinals next time.
Yeah, I know you really wanted to say next week there, and I wish it was.
Yeah.
Ultimately, there's going to be I think it's a week-long hiatus here between the quarterfinals and the semifinals of the TEC High School League Division 1 season 2022. Ultimately, at the end of the day, this was a fun series to watch. It's great to see Windber staying on their game, and equally for Moshannon Valley, you know, it's that age-old question of competitive Overwatch: dedication to strategy or mid-game adaptability. And I think that for Moshannon, they absolutely gave us a masterclass in staying dedicated to the compositions that you like to play. Big shout out to Moshannon for confronting an opponent like Windber on their terms.
Yeah, they managed to make it this far into the quarterfinals. That alone is a great feat to have accomplished so far in the season, and we're looking forward to seeing both these teams back again, hopefully in a short time.
Yeah, you know, for now it's Windber walking away with a victory. They've definitely got a tough matchup for next time. They'll be going up against the Bishop Carroll Huskies. That's going to be a fun one to watch. But honestly, all of our semifinals and the finals are also going to be fun to watch. For Moshannon Valley, I've got to express the same sentiment I expressed for the Greater Johnstown Trojans. It has been an absolute blast watching you guys play this season. Keep your heads up. I think that you know, I now have a little bit of confidence whenever someone asks me to switch, and I'm like, look, I know how to play this hero. I'm going to stay on it. So for Moshannon Valley, there's still so much that we can learn from them as a team and as individuals, and they as well, like the rest of us, will continue to learn. For now, it's not a devastating loss. They are out of the season, but hopefully we'll be able to see them again soon.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that as well. And on that note, this will be the conclusion of our broadcast today. This has been the Esports League Overwatch Division 1 quarterfinals. We're really glad you have joined us. Make sure you guys will tune back in for our semifinals, not next Wednesday, the week after. Those will be some more exciting matches to be played as we get to the conclusion of our Overwatch season. We also have some of the other matches for other games being played throughout the week as well. Make sure we're staying around for those too. These players are also talented. This is just the beginning of their esports journey, and I'm very glad to be here with a part of it.
Yeah, it was a great debut from all of these teams for you here today, Tiny. And definitely, if you guys want to see more of Tiny or myself, then drop the !casters command in the Twitch chat so you guys can follow us. Make sure that you're also using the !social so you can follow the esports company on all of their platforms. Stay appraised of all the esports company endeavors. You know, whether you play Overwatch or Valorant or any other game, you guys definitely want to tune in here when we go live for all the action. Like Tiny mentioned, there's a hiatus for next week. The games will resume on the 25th of April and Overwatch on the 27th of April. So definitely make sure that you guys are part of that. For now, speaking for myself and Tiny, it has been an absolute blast here in the booth today. Hopefully you guys had as much fun as we did. For the time being, we'll have to conclude the broadcast here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a wonderful rest of the evening. Be good to each other, and we'll see you soon.